You are now watching the Amazing Mets pregame show with your hosts, Rob and CP.
Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets! Let's go Mets!
What's up, Mets fans? It's your boy CP, and I'm joined here by Talking Mets with Rob, and we are going to be going over this Game 2 matchup tonight between the New York Mets and the Seattle Mariners. We'll be going over what we saw last night in the 6-0 loss for our New York Mets. As you all know, Rob was not able to join me on the postgame. I did a postgame on my channel. I gave you the ins and outs of what the loss entailed, but I want to hear Rob's thoughts, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts in the chat as well. So before we get into anything, please, if you're on the chat, whether you're on X or whether you're on YouTube, hit that thumbs up. Subscribe not only to my channel, but also subscribe to Rob's channel and drop those live chats in the live chat section. We really want to hear what you all have to think because this is a pivotal, crucial, important game for our New York Mets. Rob, what's up with you?
What's up, buddy? Yeah, it was a tough loss yesterday. We know the pitching for the Mariners are probably one of the best in baseball. And look, the Mets offense, this is the team. We needed to see the offense show up in this game, and it have to be in this series because, listen, if it doesn't, we're probably going to lose the series, if not worse. So we knew the offense had to step up big in this series. We were going to talk about Quintana, but he pitched pretty well for the most part, and the offense didn't really give him a chance. So, that was the biggest thing that, I didn't watch a lot of the game, but it was obvious just looking at the box score, like, yeah, it wasn't very good for our offense. And, even Lindor talked about it on the post game that, we got to give our pitchers some help. He even said their adjustments were way too late in the ball game when it was basically game over. So they got to do better, and the offense better step up because the pitching can only be so good against a guy who we're facing today who is a dangerous pitcher and one of the best in baseball.
Yeah, and that is Mr. Logan Gilbert. We will get into him. I got into the type of pitcher that Logan Gilbert is last night on the post game. I threw up his Savant page. I talked about how if you all thought that Bryce Miller is good because he was fantastic, wait till you see what Logan Gilbert has to offer for you all tonight in terms of what's on your screen. So the offense definitely is going to be a focal point today in this stream. I want to really get your thoughts about what we saw transpire with the Mets last night here in just a second. And apologies to everybody. Like I said, if Rob goes out, I know you're on travel, Rob. I'm not sure if anybody's muffled. I could be muffled myself. I know my Wi-Fi hasn't been great. I apologize. We are trying our best to navigate through these technical difficulties. So everybody in the chat, if at any point you hear any one of us, either myself or Rob, go off, be a little muffled, or you just simply can't hear us or we freeze, please definitely let us know. But Rob, let's talk a little bit about, right, before we get into the chat, let's talk a little bit about what we saw from the pitching aspect of last night's ball game. And the bullpen is definitely going to be a focal point, and that's where Adam Ottavino comes in. I started my stream off. I made sure to start my stream off last night at 1 a.m. talking about Adam Ottavino and his piss poor performance. But you know what? I kind of feel bad that I did that because I feel like that really took away from what Jose Quintana really did over the course of the ball game yesterday because he was absolutely phenomenal. You see on your screen, 6 2/3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 5 earned runs given up, but really it should have only been 4 credited to him, and 8 strikeouts. The changeup was working fantastic. The curveball was working fantastic, and he only walked 2. So this box score that you see from Jose Quintana at the bottom really is, it does him a disservice, to be honest with you, because he pitched so much better than what the box score alludes to. And I want to just get your thoughts and opinions on not only Jose Quintana and the type of start that he had, but also Adam Ottavino, who we do have some latest news in terms of the Mets bullpen. Reed Garrett has been activated. That's what my next slide is dedicated to. But Adam Ottavino comes into the game to relieve Jose Quintana, was only tasked to get 1 out, right? And he couldn't even be efficient in getting that 1 out. So I'm really curious to just pick your brain in terms of what we saw from the pitching aspect and the pitching side of things from the Mets last night.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at the line from Quintana, the 5 earned runs kind of like put a damper on what was a really good outing for Quintana. And listen, he was this close to going 7 innings. And we talked about this with our starters, how they've been really going deeper into ball games and pitching better deep into ball games. It looks like a bad line because of that fifth earned run. And even if it was 4 earned runs, he pitched really well. Look, he deserved to win yesterday. And that's the frustrating part, right? And then you get Ottavino, who is probably he has almost 2 feet out the door already. He don't believe that, but everybody in the organization and the fan base does. Yeah, he was taxed to get 1 out yesterday, and he couldn't even do that to prevent another run, to prevent getting that earned run added to Quintana. It all ended up being an overall worse game than it actually looked. If you look, I watched the replay of the game, like the hour wrap up. I watched it. It's a huge difference when you watch the game. You're like, wow, the Mets didn't really play that bad. But if you look at the score and you woke up like I did and I seen the score and I'm like, the hell, what happened? It looked like a worse game. But overall, watching the game, it didn't look as bad as the score actually looked. So it just shows you that a little bit more offense. And if the offense would have, showed up yesterday, which we know it's going to be a tough test, but when it comes to the pitching as a whole, yeah, Quintana had a hell of a game. He had opportunities, or the team had opportunities to fight their way back in the ballgame. Well, Quintana was still grinding, and I think it was the second inning where he gave up 2 runs. After that, he held it down. He put zeros on the board. So what else are you asking for a starting pitcher except, hey, offense, help this guy out, and not only help the starter out, help your bullpen out a little bit. And that didn't happen at all. But yeah, Ottavino, as you said, look, he's done. Look, Reed Garrett came back as soon as Nunez comes back, or maybe even sooner with Foley. I think Ottavino's on his way out because you can't even trust him in getting 1 out anymore. And when he's only going to be a mop-up guy, he's not worth the problem in the bullpen and the roster spot. There's somebody else useful that we could use in that roster spot in the bullpen now.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with you. Jose Quintana had a hell of an outing outside of the mistake that he made, I believe, to Ryan Bliss in the second inning, hanging curveball in the first pitch, and just blasting it out to the left field wall, right over the left field wall for a 2-0 lead. He retired 14 batters after that, right? And then he really got into a situation in that seventh inning. He couldn't close it out. He gave up I guess, the nail in the coffin, quote unquote, type of hit to make it 4-0. And then Adam Ottavino came in and just continued that downward spiral. So I 100% agree. I think that a lot of fans agree. There's a select few of this fan base that are still defending Adam Ottavino. And I just simply can't understand that thinking process to sit there and say, well, he just had scoreless innings in a row for the New York Mets in low leverage situations, but we're going to call out the one time that he goes out there in the last, month and a half, 2 months. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me. And I agree with you. It's more or less, and I hate to say this, right? It's more or less of a wasted roster spot because if you keep this guy on the roster, we know that Carlos Mendoza does not trust him in high leverage situations. He doesn't at all. I was even surprised to see him in a 4-0 ball game last night, right? I was surprised. So to sit there and tell me that Adam Ottavino's been pitching well because he's been pitching in leads that the New York Mets have had of 5, 6, 7 runs, no, I'm not accepting that. I'm simply not accepting that. That is where I cross the line, and that is where you lose me. So that's that. So this is your pitching line for the New York Mets. Obviously, on the flip side of the coin, with the offense last night, I'm not going to toss up the box score in what the New York Mets did offensively against Bryce Miller because it wasn't much. Trust me, it was 6 scoreless innings from Bryce Miller. But Bryce Miller definitely had his whole arsenal working, 7 different pitches, the splitter, the slider, the four-seam fastball, everything was working for Bryce Miller. and the Mets end up losing 6-0. So, like I said, everybody that's in here, I appreciate you all. Amazing Mets post-game, or Amazing Mets pre-game, show is commencing. The New York Mets desperately need a win tonight. They need to show us and follow up on a poor performance last night, and they need to go ahead and wipe that from their memory banks and show us that they are capable, right? Because they've done it before. I was mentioning on the post game yesterday, they have been showing us that they're capable of hitting elite opposing pitchers. They need to show that against Logan Gilbert tonight. And we'll definitely get into that. So hit that thumbs up on both streams. This is being streamed to my YouTube. This is being streamed to Rob's YouTube. Make sure you hit that thumbs up on both streams. Subscribe to both channels and continue to hit the live chat and continue to vote in the live chat poll, especially the one that I got going on right now, in your confidence level of the New York Mets pulling out a victory tonight in Game 2 against the Seattle Mariners. But let's talk about what we just talked about in the bullpen, Rob. Reed Garrett has officially been activated. All along, I said one of these two lefties are going to be off this roster. And there's only one person, he who shall not be named, that regularly listens into our streams that was backfiring and saying that we need to keep both lefties. But for me, I'm like, neither of these guys are game changers. So why do we need both in this bullpen? You know what, though? I would have preferred to keep Alex Young, but I knew it was either Alex Young or Danny Young that I was out of here as soon as Reed Garrett came back. And sure enough, the Mets do option Alex Young back to AAA. Thoughts on this? Any sort of bullpen thoughts in general about what we're seeing here, especially with Sean Reed-Foley coming back here soon as well? Daniel Nunez, also great news that we received just like an hour ago that he is scheduled to throw a bullpen session tomorrow. So, like I said, Reed Garrett's officially back. Alex Young is down. We got one lefty in the pen. It's Danny Young. Adam Ottavino is still part of this bullpen as of right now. You got Sean Reed-Foley coming back, and you got Daniel Nunez also on the horizon within the next couple of weeks. What do you make of this bullpen situation in terms of the actual roster moves perspective of it?
Yeah, I was a little shocked that it was Alex Young over Danny Young, but again, nobody's really like, blowing their stats off the page to say, all right, why is he up and the other guy is not? So it was going to be one of the Youngs. We knew that. It was going to be one of the lefties, right? It just comes back to the fact, who do I want my manager to trust, right? And if Mendoza trusts Reed Garrett over, both lefties or one of the lefties and still wants two lefties in the bullpen, because listen, this move wasn't done just based on Mendoza or Stearns just saying, I want this guy out and this guy in, right? This was Mendoza saying, Stearns and Mendoza probably said, listen, do you want two lefties in the bullpen? Mendoza was probably like, I wouldn't mind it, but it's not a necessity, right? And look, Reed Garrett, before he got hurt, he was actually throwing better against lefties than righties. So there's no concern. I'm not concerned about Reed Garrett. Look, I know some people don't want to see Reed Garrett because the last time we seen him, he wasn't very good. And of course, he was injured. But at the same time, we forget what he's done as a closer, as a setup man, in big spots when he wasn't the closer and a setup man, the way he was pitching. And maybe he might have found that lightning in a bottle at one point, but I don't think is he going to go back to that dominant guy that we seen a few months ago? Probably not. But even if we get half of that, I think he's a good addition, right? Mendoza, trust him, obviously, or wouldn't be back with the major league team. And I'm going to trust my manager, and I'm going to trust David Stearns to thinking why Alex Young is sent down and Reed Garrett is replacing him. Because, again, Reed Garrett has good numbers against lefty batters. So I think that they probably took that into perspective as well, into the overall, thought process on should we get rid of one of the two lefties or move somebody else like Ottavino out and Garrett in. Listen, Adam Ottavino, when it comes to Reed Garrett, Sean Reed-Foley, Nunez, right, I think Ottavino's decision is going to come really soon with Sean Reed-Foley coming back. But, they could have easily said, listen, we're done with Ottavino and then replace Reed Garrett, Ottavino with Reed Garrett. And they could have done that. But what I think they're doing is getting the guy that Mendoza trusts in Garrett, We know Ottavino's time is coming, and I think they're giving one last chance to Ottavino over these next few days before Reed Foley. I think he should be coming back within a week, I think they said. So I think Ottavino has this week to prove, hey, you better be damn good. Like, he's got to be untouchable for a guy that's not going to be touched on this team. He probably will be, but I just feel like Stearns is trusting Mendoza and saying, who do you trust? And Reed Garrett is one of those guys. Obviously, he used them a ton. So I think it's just a fact of trust factor now with Stearns and Mendoza, with the guys Mendoza believes he can trust going into that bullpen every single day.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely agree with you. Quite simple. Like, if we were to round this slide out and just say that the bullpen is in a good spot, but there's a couple of adjustments and a couple of tweaks that it needs in terms of the actual roster moves, I think that could do this argument justice, right? And I see M-Easy here. I'm not going to even respond to M-Easy because M-Easy's just got to take the L here. I said that they weren't going to keep two lefties if it was both of the Youngs, and he's still saying that he wants to keep two lefties. But you know what? It is what it is. There's one lefty on this roster right now until further notice. There's really not any lefties on the radar right now to bring back up, especially with the current personnel that the Mets have, right, coming back. Even with the expanded roster, right, for the New York Mets coming up in September, like, there's really not much room for a second lefty, right? That kind of went out the door when Diekman was DFA'd, when the Rayleigh injury happened. So, yeah, 100%, I definitely agree with you. There's a lot of inner workings of this bullpen that David Stearns needs to figure out, but with the personnel at full strength that he has available to him, I love this bullpen. I'm sorry. I just love this bullpen. If you take Adam Ottavino out of the equation, I especially love this bullpen. 100%. Like that's what I will stand on. I'll stand 10 toes down on that statement. I want to say a special salute to my guy Travis Berg. In-game live streams for the Mets and Giants as well on his YouTube channel. Make sure you go ahead and check out his YouTube channel saying let's collaborate soon. Would 100% love to do that, Travis. Hit me up. Make sure you go check out Travis's YouTube channel. Definitely appreciate the super chat. It is much appreciated. So let's get to some of the comments here because I have a couple of comments here. Yeah, M-Easy, elite bullpen, 100%. I don't back down on my statements. Elite bullpen it is, but at least I knew that there wasn't going to be two lefties in this bullpen named Alex Young and Danny Young. So there you go. Got our guy Hector in the chat right now. LGM, my guys. M-Easy's also asking, listen, M-Easy, as much as you want to come here and sort of argue against me and what I say for the bullpen, who's defending Adam Ottavino and where? I'm not sure if you have an X account, but there's a lot of people on my X timeline, aka Twitter, my Twitter timeline, that are defending Adam Ottavino. He actually has a very large fan base in this Mets fan base overall. And I'm not sure why, Rob, right? I'm sure you've interacted with some of his fans. There's been a whole different discussion about Ottavino amongst some of also my peers as well that has gotten a lot of pushback. And I simply can't see where that pushback is coming from. I simply can't see justifying 7 to 8 scoreless outings in garbage time situations, right? To try to sit here and tell me that he deserves a roster spot. I just can't. I just cannot. For a guy that comes in here and pitches one inning, this is not Pete Alonso we're talking about, right? In garbage time situations, the home run when he's an everyday player. We're talking about a guy that appears every 3 to 4 days, posts a scoreless inning, and then we're expected to sit here and praise him because he posted 7 to 8 of those in a row while his team had a 5, 6, 7 run lead. That doesn't make too much sense to me. So I think that we are on the same page in that, if you wanted to speak on that for just a second.
Yeah, look, I was a defender of Ottavino a couple of months ago when he was needed with the injuries, with the suspension of Diaz. Like, he was needed. That's why it was so frustrating because Mendoza didn't have many guys to trust in that pen. So Ottavino was needed and needed to be trusted in this pen when we were going through those injuries and that suspension as well. Now he's not needed anymore. So, they're trying to find lightning in a bottle with Ottavino in mop-up duty, trying to find his slider, trying to find, he never going to hold any runner on, but they're trying to find his slider, trying to make sure he can locate his fastball, but you can't continue to keep, messing and playing games with him and, put him in spots where it's basically mop-up, winning or losing. Those numbers don't really mean nothing. As always, you just brought up with Pete Alonso. Those numbers don't matter. And, as a defender of Ottavino a couple of months ago, because he was so needed in the bullpen, that was the only reason why I was a defender of him, because of the fact that he was needed in the bullpen. Mendoza needed more than one guy or maybe two guys in the bullpen that he trusted. Ottavino was supposed to be one of those trusted guys, at least the third or fourth options that Mendoza didn't even have. Now, Ottavino is, what is he, the sixth, seventh option, if that? And sooner or later, he's going to be on another team's option. So, I understand why people are trying to. Well, let me put it down. I don't understand why they're still trying to defend Ottavino on X mostly, because I've seen the comments as well. But I think they're still in that mindset that this bullpen is still not good. I think they're still in that, because you see it on X, you see it on the chat right now. There's some people that don't believe this bullpen is good. So they're assuming that, well, how bad can Ottavino be if this bullpen is not good right now? And they think that he's more needed than he actually is. But look when he's used. Yesterday, it was a 4-0 game at the time, right? 4 or 5-0 game. Like that is not something that, like, the game was just this close to being out of hand. So when was the last time Ottavino came in a big spot over the last couple of weeks? It's very rare, maybe once, maybe twice. So if he's not used in any situation that of importance, then why is he even here? Why is the defendant still happening? I don't know. Maybe Ottavino's paying him under the rug or something, and letting people know, because even he believes that it would be a mistake if the Mets let him go. Okay, Chris. Sorry.
The answer to this is 1, Ricardo. The roster goes from 26 to 28. You're able to add one pitcher to make it from 13 to 14 on the roster, and also one position player. So that's your answer, is 1. This comment right here, I take issue with this comment, because to suggest that this Mets bullpen right now is Stanek, right? Reed Garrett, even, I trust more than Sean Reed-Foley, or than Adam Ottavino. Sean Reed-Foley, I also trust in more than Adam Ottavino. Daniel Nunez when he comes back. Edwin Diaz already. Like Huascar Brazaban. This Mets bullpen already has arms that I trust a lot more still than Adam Ottavino. So even if they might be unproven to the eyes of most of the fan base, Reed Garrett and what he's done in the beginning of the season, in the 6th inning or lower, right before he was able to go and before he was extended to the 8th and 9th inning, that's already more impressive than what I've seen from Adam Ottavino, right? Sean Reed-Foley, same thing, although he's also injury prone. So I don't know if I buy into this unproven arms thing with this bullpen. Like, I understand that we still need to see more from Reed Garrett. We still need to see more than Sean Reed-Foley. But how much more do we need to see from those two guys to make them better than Adam Ottavino? For me, I don't need to see anything else, to be honest with you. I don't need to see anything else.
What I think Hector's really trying to say, it's not that we trust him or don't really, I still think that, like you said, he has no options. So, and, he is costing money here. So I think it's more of the fact that they're going to, if there was a situation where Garrett, Foley, and Nunez were already back and Ottavino still has a roster spot, I think that would be more alarming. Of like, does Ottavino have a junk pitch of Steve Cohen, and that's why he's blackmailing him to stay on this team? There would be something alarming. But I think they're gonna try every way to see if they can get Ottavino going at some way somehow until the final pieces of this bullpen come back healthy. I think Sean Reed-Foley, when he comes back, Ottavino's gone. But even if it's not the case, and it's somebody else in that bullpen that's gone over to put in Sean Reed Foley, he's probably going to be there until Nunez. If not, then something's going on with Ottavino in the organization, because that's the only thing I can think of. Because it didn't know options, and Stearns loves guys with options, and Ottavino's kind of like, all right, if you're going to get rid of him, he is gone. He will be on another team in their bullpen. And what you don't want, especially from a veteran, Chris, and people in the chat as well, look, I tend to not agree with this, but I understand the thought process. What if he goes to Philadelphia? What if he goes to Arizona, San Diego, to Atlanta, and pitches well? Like, I think that's what a little bit that they're worried. I know, but
that's not my concern. That's not my concern.
I agree with you, but I'm trying to get into their heads, because you know how fast it will backfire from the fans if he ends up in Philadelphia and we got a big 3-game set against them and he pitches in big spots and gets us out, and then people will be like, oh, look, he goes over there and pitches well and we had him. So I just think they want to burn all the bridges before they actually say, all right, we gave this guy enough chances, get him the fuck out of here.
So the problem with this is that, and I understand where Hector's coming from now too, especially with what you just said, Rob. I understand that. But the problem with this is that the only bullpen arms that have options available for them to get sent back down is Reed Garrett and Danny Young. None of the other guys, right? And if you want to send down a guy like Daniel Nunez, be my guest, but you're going to look like really foolish if you do so, right? Like there's not any other arms that are going to have an option. So Huascar Brazaban and Daniel Nunez, I'm pretty sure they are safe in this bullpen. Danny Young and Reed Garrett definitely are options not to be safe in this bullpen with their options available on their contract. But are you really going to tell me that you are going to send them down in favor of Adam Ottavino, especially with the type of season overall that he's had? So I understand both sides of the coin here in this argument, but for me, I'm willing to take my chances. If he goes out there and produces with somebody else, it is what it is at this point. But like I said, David Stearns has shown a tendency to have a quick trigger on even guys that he has brought in here himself with familiarity, like Adrian Hauser, right? To just boot them off the team because they haven't been performing. So I get it that you're using Adam Ottavino as insurance, but what is insurance as a definition really to this Mets fan base when you see an outing like last night? Did you see Rosarena back out of the batter's box before Adam Ottavino even threw the pitch over the plate because he knew his guys were stealing automatically with ease on Adam Ottavino? That is unacceptable, and that is not a player that I need on my team. Because you know what? A type of player like that doesn't get high leverage situations. And Carlos Mendoza already knows that. So if we're going to keep him as insurance for garbage time situations, I simply think that's just an absolute piss poor excuse to waste a roster spot. I truly do. This is probably one of the strongest opinions that I have about the New York Mets right now, and that is that Adam Ottavino is taking up a bullpen spot for no reason.
Yeah, Hector's right though. In this point though, you are getting 3 guys back from injury, and we got to remember these were injuries that kept them out for a decent amount of time. So maybe they want to be 100% sure that Reed Garrett don't come. Like, see if they would have DFA'd Ottavino and put Reed Garrett in that spot, right? And Danny Young would have still been here. Alex Young would have still been here. I would have been like, and say God forbid Reed Garrett gets hurt. Right? Now you got to bring up somebody else that from your minor league system that maybe is not trusted might not be good. I feel like they just want to make sure that these injured pitchers that were trusted at one point in the bullpen are actually back and healthy enough to continue being trusted in that bullpen. Because look, Reed Garrett can come back, get hurt, right? He already had an injury. Same thing with Foley, same thing with Nunez. I just think that Ottavino is kind of that safety gap just in case one of these guys can't remain healthy over the next few weeks before they really make a decision. Or they might even keep Ottavino, on this team up until September with that extra roster spot. Because if we know anything from Stearns, he loves bullpen arms. He likes quantity over quality a lot of times. So I know he's been very quick quick trigger when it comes to not doing a job. But when he got that extra roster spot, I think he's going to go with quantity over quality in that one extra pitching spot. That might be a choice. And the injuries are a concern though, because look, Reed Garrett was what Reed Garrett was always in his career until a few months this year, and then he got hurt. Nunez never pitched this much in his life, got injured. Sean Reed Foley 2 years in a row has been injured. So I think these three guys, Chris, I know, buddy, but you know what? These three guys. There's one thing about Ottavino. He pitches.
Can I let you just say? Can I just let you know something? First of all, this is the problem that I have with allowing Adam Ottavino to get these excuses. You have people like this saying Stanek should be sent down in favor of Adam Ottavino. This is absolute. This tells me baseball first and foremost. So that's first and foremost. Second of all, even if you have an extended roster spot, the fact that the Mets have 13 pitchers filled right now, and it's going to go from 13 to 14, you have Sean Reed Foley coming back. You need to make a move. So even if you have the 14th roster spot available, Daniel Nunez is going to take that roster spot already. Adam Ottavino has nowhere to stay on this roster with the two guys coming back. The math is not mathing with him staying on this roster.
That's why he's going to be gone once Nunez. I think he's going to be protected or at least saved even when Sean Reed Foley comes back. I think he's going to be on this team until Nunez is ready to go, and that's what almost the end of August probably.
This is what a non-ball ball knower looks like right here. This is what a non-baller looks like. A non-ball knower. Yeet. Terrible. Terrible. Please learn some ball and then come back later. All right. Listen, that's what it is. I mean, honestly, like I said, Adam Ottavino is not going to be on this roster. I'm sorry. There's no way that you can keep Adam Ottavino on this roster because the math doesn't add up. And I understand at this point, right? Maybe to ride out the rest of August, you can go ahead and keep Adam Ottavino. But once Daniel Nunez is back into the fold, the math does not add up in terms of how many roster spots you have available versus how many pitchers you have to give those roster spots to.
Yeah.
That's what I'll say.
Well, that's the thing. Like if Ottavino is still on this roster when Nunez comes back and everybody's healthy, then something isn't adding up. Like you said, math is mathing, right? That's basically what it is. There's no way Ottavino can be on this team. And if they find a way to keep him on this team with all the healthy bullpen arms, then something's up. Like, something is up.
I agree with this. Hector, 100%. This is where we can come to a finite solution and a middle ground here. If this bullpen is 100% healthy, right? And that's what the assumption in my argument is that Sean Reed Foley's healthy, Reed Garrett's healthy, Daniel Nunez is healthy. So if that's the assumption, right, then Adam Ottavino has no place on this roster. That's what I'm willing to compromise and get to. Like that's the answer.
Yeah. Well, since you brought up Hector, his comment, Hector, I know what you got to do. Make sure you get Ottavino to Central Park and start throwing with him, because ever since then, Manaea has pitched really damn well. Maybe you got to get Ottavino out there and throw those damn sliders to you, and maybe we'll be talking about Ottavino pitching 8th inning again and looking like an actual pitcher. And show him how to pick off a runner, or actually know how to step off. That would be nice. Come on, Heck, you got to do your job, man. What else Anthony DeComo's going to write about?
Facts. That's a big old fact right there. That's a big old fact. My guy Hector got hosed with the crediting of tossing with Sean Manaea at Central Park. But these are your updated NL wildcard standings. And this should be Padres +4 because they just took another game in which they came back in the 8th or 9th inning or later. That is 4 straight games now that the Padres have came back and won a ball game against the Pirates and the Marlins when trailing in the 8th or 9th inning. So they're in the +4. They are absolutely red hot in the win-loss column. But like I said, the quality of victory that they have been, I guess, receiving is something
Not.
that I quite simply am laughing at, to be honest with you. I
It
look at the
hasn't been good
Marlins and
baseball
what
by
they
them.
did. What was that?
I'm sorry to cut you off, but it hasn't been good baseball by them. Since I've been not working a couple of days now, I've been watching them. They've been they've been pitching bad because they've been coming back from. I mean, look, the comebacks are always awesome, but if you really look at the whole entire game, they haven't played well. They've just been coming back late in the ball games. And if you look at their offensive stats earlier in ball games, they're absolutely terrible. And look, it's hard to kill them knowing that they've been coming back from ball games. Like the Mets are doing that a lot during their streak, but their pitching hasn't been good. The pitching give up a lot of runs. And they've been winning like 8-7 ball game, 7-6 ball game. They've been scoring a lot of runs, but they also have been giving up a lot of runs. So their turnover of like streakiness, or like, at least in their win streaks right now, and the way they've been playing over the last couple of weeks, have been a little bit skewed. Look, a win's a win, and like we don't complain how we win, just like the Padre fans and the Padres are not going to care how they win. But if you look how they do it, it's not sustainable because at some point you're not going to get that big hit in the eighth or the ninth like they did today, right? It, that doesn't last. That's not sustainable when your pitchings continue to give up 5+ runs per ball game, which their pitching is averaging over their winning streak, which is crazy because that offense is going to come back down to earth at some point. Right? They're red hot right now, but their pitching is mediocre at best. At least the Mets pitching has been there where the offense has been streaky. So the Padres, look, they're winning, great, but it's a little skewed on the way that a little messed up of how they're winning right now. But listen, they gotta they're gonna hit that +4 column, having a nice little cushion for the wild card with 46 games to go.
Yeah, 100%. They've been playing, I guess, in terms of just winning baseball games, they've been playing lights out, but the way that they've been winning in terms of their actual pitching has not impressed me at all. Their bullpen hasn't looked great at all. And the Marlins did everything in their possible capability tonight to lose that ball game. If you take a look at the top of the 10th inning, or I guess I should say the bottom of the 10th inning, whatever it was that the Marlins were batting, they lost that game by themselves. That was absolutely horrendous baseball by the Miami Marlins to hand the Padres another victory. But like you said, right? And like everyone is saying in the chat, the Diamondbacks, the Mets, and the Padres over the last 30 games have been 3 of the top 4 hottest teams in baseball.
Yep.
Right? So we like to crap on the Mets all the time, right? But when you take a look at the last 30 games, this was just tweeted out. And I forgot which account tweeted this out, but over the last 30 games, the Padres, the Diamondbacks, or the Mets are one of the top 3 of 4 teams in terms of best record over the last 30. So
Yep.
it is what it is. I mean, I understand that the Padres and the Diamondbacks have been gaining ground over the last 10 maybe, but the Mets have still been playing decent ball if you look at strictly the win-loss column.
Yeah.
Offense, runners in scoring position excluded.
Yeah, so. And listen, when it comes to the Mets, right? When they finally got back to relevancy and started to get into the wild card mix and into the 1, 2, 3 wild card spot, what was the key that we talked about? We talked about don't have extended losing streaks, right? You can have a 2, maybe a 3-game losing streak, but you can't have a 5, 6, 7-game losing streak. That's what you cannot have. And the Mets have avoided that, along with the D-backs and the Padres, while they've been the 2, 3, 4 hottest teams in baseball over the last 30 games. That is the most important part that I don't think a lot of Mets fans understand. Like, we go ape shit crazy when we lose the series against the Angels. It's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world, right? At one point, the Mets are 2 games back of a wild card spot. Within 3 games, they got right back in a wild card spot. You got the Braves free falling. You got other teams that, like the Giants, who are coming back up. But the important thing is, if you don't have extended losing streaks of 4 or more, that's when you ring the alarm bells. Because a 3-game losing streak, that happens. That actually happens. So a 3-game losing streak, listen, it's not what we want, but it'll definitely, is like, all right, let's get back on track here. They avoided that 4, 5, 6-game losing streak or more especially right now when it's really not. It's really crucial not to have that. But when you avoid those 4+ losing game losing streaks, you avoid really losing ground on the wild card spot. And right now we're holding it by a half a game. But again, if you have 7 games and you take 4 out of 7 or 5 out of 7, there's a pretty good chance within that stretch you're not losing 3+ games in a row. And that's what they're avoiding right now, along with the Diamondbacks and Padres. Over the last 30 games, you just said it, Chris. They're one of the 3-4 teams best in baseball record wise. That's because they're not going on extended losing streaks. And with 46 games to go, you got to start avoiding that. If you avoid those 4+ game losing streaks, they're going to be fine because the Braves are not playing well. I know the Giants are playing well, but I don't think the Giants are going to be sustainable enough to keep on playing the way they're playing, and they got to catch people. The Mets don't have to catch nobody. Right now, they're in a wild card spot. Right? All they got to do is maintain a wild card spot. That's a lot easier to do than start chasing. We dealt with it for 2 months, chasing teams. Now we are being chased. And it's not like we're getting chased for the division. We had 3 spots. One of those spots could be ours. We don't have to worry about holding on to one division spot. So the Mets are in a good spot right now. Just continue to win series. And even if you don't win series, don't get swept. I think that's the key to a successful rest of the season, to hold on to that wildcard spot.
And speaking of not getting swept, because we are 42 minutes on stream right now and haven't even touched the game that we're going to be witnessing tonight, because this is how much we love Mets baseball, right? We do have a game tonight. That is Seattle Mariners versus New York Mets game 2. 61-55 on the win-loss column for the New York Mets and 61-56 for the Seattle Mariners. These are your game 2 starting pitchers, probable starting pitchers. Sean Manaea versus Logan Gilbert. Sean Manaea is 8-4 with a 3.30 ERA, and Logan Gilbert is 6-8 with the 3.05 ERA. And Sean Manaea is coming off of the last 2 starts. Those are the last 2 starts of his career. I mean, like, when you turn in 6+ innings pitched, right? 10+ strikeouts. The first lefty in organizational history since Johan Santana to turn in 2 back-to-back games of 10+ strikeouts. You're riding high. You're finding what pitches work for you. If you haven't taken a look at on my channel, the breakdown of Sean Manaea and his mechanics and his pitch selection that he's been utilizing and implementing since 4 months ago in April when the season first started, then make sure you do so, because he is a completely different pitcher now than he was before. And he is making adjustments, every adjustment possible, whether you want to just give credit to solely Sean Manaea, whether you want to give credit to the coaching staff and Jeremy Hefner, because I know not many people in this fan base, they're very reluctant to give credit to Jeremy Hefner, but whoever you draw up the credit to, Sean Manaea has been making adjustments. The sweeper and the four-seamer are a priority for him, and he has abandoned at all costs that changeup, because the changeup is not a good pitch for him. So we probably will not see it much tonight at all, if I had to guess. But on the flip side of the coin, if you thought Bryce Miller last night was fantastic, I don't want to set the stage for Logan Gilbert, but I will, because this Mariners rotation, like you said, Rob, is absolutely no joke. And if you don't make any adjustments, if you're the Mets offense, and we'll talk about the lineup and what the Mets have going 1 through 9 in the next slide, there is no drop-off in the talent level of the off-speed pitches from Bryce Miller to Logan Gilbert, right? Slider, splitter, four-seam fastball, cutter/sinker, whichever one they utilize, because it just depends on which side of the plate the ball breaks to, whether you have a cutter or splitter. But the primary pitches, what I'm talking about, the off-speed, is the splitter, which is Logan Gilbert's best pitch. If you want nightmares, then you'll go on to Logan Gilbert's Savant page and look at the success rate that he's had with his splitter. That is his best pitch, like bar none. That is his best pitch. But also the slider works very well for him with a 96-mile-per-hour fastball to go along with it. So What is your thought process here? Given what we saw with the New York Mets at bats last night, what is your thought process here with Logan Gilbert?
Get him early. I think it's that simple. Any pitcher that's been really good all season or who's been on a hot stretch, you got to get to him early. Sometimes in the game they might not be loose enough. They might not have one or two pitches. They might only have one pitch that is working for them. So you got to really get on the other pitches that he's starting to throw. That's what you got to do. I think if you like you saw yesterday, what happened, right? They couldn't get to him early. He got better and better and better with Miller, continued to got better throughout the game, and then he was untouchable. Same thing with Gilbert. That's what's going to happen. You got to get to him early. Look, Sean Manaea has been pitching just as good as Gilbert. If you look at the ERA, it's not, it's a difference, but not that much difference. He's been that good. So I think Manaea is going to keep us in a ball game, right? I know the Mariners scored 6 runs, but they kind of scored them at the back end of Quintana's outing and the beginning of Ottavino's outing. So excuse me, sorry about that. They, when it comes to the overall pitching matchup, it's going to be a pitcher's duel. Who's gonna get to the pitching first. And the way Manaea is pitching and Gilbert's pitching, it might take until both of these guys are out of the ball game. But the key is here with any starter that is hot, get to him early, jump on first pitch fastball, so you don't have to worry about his change, his slider, his cutter. You don't got to worry about those pitches. Jump on that first pitch fastball. Gilbert is a guy who likes to go up 0-1 on counts. I was looking at one of his stat line when it comes to what he does on first pitches. He's all around the plate first pitch. So he's gonna give you. I'm not gonna call it a cookie because that's not fair to Gilbert. But he's gonna throw something around the plate, mostly a fastball, to get ahead in the count. So what are you doing as a hitter? I'm hoping, and I assume the Mets know this going in, right? Especially with Lindor talking about they didn't adjust until later in the ball game. I think that's going to make a lot of these Mets hitters aware. Listen, guys, he throws strikes first pitch. He wants to get ahead in the count. So what do? Don't let him get ahead. Swing at that first pitch fastball. He throws a lot of them. He has about an 83% first pitch strike to batters when he's on the mound. So that tells you right there that a lot of the hitters are going into the game not swinging at that first pitch. So now he's ahead 0-1, and now we can play games with his other off-speed and breaking ball pitches. That's what you need to avoid. If you don't avoid that, guess what's going to happen? Logan Gilbert's going to have a hell of a game, and the Mets are going to be talking about losing the series to the Mariners. That cannot happen. First pitch, you got to go up there swinging.
Wow. Woo. Wow. Who's been preaching that philosophy the whole entire season so far? Who's been preaching it? I mean, I hate to just take the credit, but I've been coming up on here on stream and everyone's been talking about, he's swinging first pitch here, he's swinging first pitch there. Listen, guys, I understand that the results skew a lot of the, I guess, notions that we have towards first pitch swinging or even just early count swing. I'm talking about 0-0, 1-0, even 2-0, right? If you get a strike, for me, there's no incentive to not swing at that strike because as soon as you get down in the count, guys that have 5, 6, 7 pitch arsenals like Bryce Miller, who threw 7 different pitches last night, like Logan Gilbert, who has 5 predominant different pitches that he utilizes on a day-to-day basis that can get you out. You are going to be in trouble against these pitchers because you look at an 0-0 fastball and you go down 0-1, right? You'll see the splitter, and then you're down 0-2. And as soon as you're down 0-2, you can see the splitter again, or you can see a nasty fastball up for 96 miles per hour that you can't catch up to because you're thinking about the splitter, or you can see the slider right in on your hands if you're a lefty and on the outside part of the plate if you Pete Alonso as a righty. So this is what I'm trying to take you all through the actual mental aspect and the mental I guess thought process as a pitcher if you are ahead of a batter, because This is something that these hitters battle through day to day in terms of actually putting together quality at bats. At the major league level, when you know that a pitcher has 5, 6 plus different pitches to throw at you on any given count, that is hard. That is hard. And I sympathize with the Mets lineup or any lineup out there facing guys like a Bryce Miller or Logan Gilbert. I really do, because it's challenging. But the way to mitigate that is, and I know that not many people want to hear it, is swinging early in the count when they might happen to prioritize the fastball early in that count. That is really the mitigation factor at that point. And on the flip side of the coin, we've seen the Seattle Mariners having success on the first pitch, although it wasn't a fastball last night, right? It was a hanging curveball from Jose Quintana in the second inning. Mr. Bliss took that to left field. He turned on it, and he hit a go-ahead 2-run home run in the second inning. So, like I said, I understand about working the pitch count, and I'm all for working the pitch count. But at the when the guys around the strike zone, like Bryce Miller last night, who I believe only had one walk, he was always around the strike zone. Working the count, quote unquote, is not as easy as a lot of people want to make it out to be. It's not. It really isn't. These guys do not have super strength eyes out there to differentiate 1 to 2 plus inches off the plate, right? At the end of the day, if the ball's close, the old baseball saying is if the ball's close, you got to swing at it. We've heard Keith Hernandez say that all the time in the booth. So I just wanted to go on that little rant because I understand the types of pitchers that Bryce Miller and Logan Gilbert are, and I just want to prepare Mets fans. And I tried to prepare Mets fans on the solo pregame stream last night as much as possible to just understand that these hitters are going to struggle up there. I didn't know what type of success they were going to have off of Bryce Miller, because at the end of the day, you expect them to put up runs in a multitude factor against any pitcher that's up there, right? Because at the end of the day, they're all hittable. But when you take a look at the ins and outs of the processes that these opposing pitchers have, it's kind of scary when you go up there as a batter not knowing what pitch of their 7 or of their 5 or of their 6 that they're going to throw. So that's what I will leave you all with. But in any case, Rob, right? 53 minutes into the stream, we know what the Mets have to do. They have to hit the baseball. So here's the Mets game 2 lineup versus the Seattle Mariners. And we are approaching 9 o'clock, which means we are approaching just about 45 minutes until game time. Leading off, playing shortstop, Francisco Lindor. Playing left field, hitting second is Brandon Nimmo. Back in the 3 holes, JD Martinez DHing. Cleanup, Pete Alonso. Playing first base. In the 5 spot is Mr. Jeff McNeil, who has seemed to revitalize his season so far. And the common denominator of what I notice, and I cannot sit here and tell you all that I'm the one that has been preaching this, because this has been Carson from the Mets Weekly Podcast has been preaching this, right? Is pulling the baseball. And I am all for going the opposite way, and I'm never going to not be going the opposite way when possible. But Jeff McNeil is having very profound success to the pull side in the second half. He is. It's undeniable. So he's batting 5th. Batting 6th, Mark Vientos playing 3rd. Batting 7th, Tyrone Taylor playing right field. 8th, Francisco Alvarez catching. And 9th, playing center field is Harrison Bader. What you got for me for the offense, Rob?
Yeah, you know, the jump right over what you were saying with Jeff McNeil, right? The big thing was, if you noticed throughout the season, before he was really getting going after the All-Star break, they were always pitching him middle in a lot of the times. And what he kept on doing, he tried to pepper the ball. Look, it's hard to pepper a ball to left field when you're pitching inside all the time. And I think that's the issue that we are finding ourselves in when it comes to Jeff McNeil. And I think he finally realized, and the pitching finally realized, or the Chavez and the other guy, and the hitting coaches are trying to figure out with Jeff McNeil. He was trying to hit every ball the other way, because that's when he was most successful, along with the shift. But what it was he was trying to take every ball to left field or left center. You had to start pulling those balls, and that's where the power started coming in when he wasn't looking to hit the ball the other way. Look, when you start pulling the ball a little bit more, you get your confidence back. You can hit that ball the other way when you have to. When it's middle to the outside corner, they were pitching him exactly where he probably did not want to be pitched. His whole mindset as a 300 hitter in his over a couple of seasons with the Mets. What is he doing? He was hitting the ball the other way, and I think he got so locked in that mindset that every ball that a pitcher threw, I got to take it the other way. I got to take it down the third base line to left field, left center, and it put him into a habit where why would a pitcher throw a ball on the outside corner? Why throw it on the outside at all? So they were continuing to put inside pitches to him when they know he wasn't going to pull the ball. And what is the difference? The pitchers can't get it to the outside corner anymore, or can't even work him in anymore. Where now he's looking to pull, and we know Jeff McNeil can go to the opposite field when he feels good. So right now they have nowhere to pitch Jeff McNeil when the one place was middle in. So he's pulling the ball, he's pulling it with power, and it's a whole different Jeff McNeil. And now pitchers have nowhere to put him. And I do love that he's batting behind Pete Alonso. I love that because it's Mendoza showing him confidence. It's giving a little bit of protection for Pete Alonso, who, after his big game in Colorado, we need to see more from him. And to continue to put protection behind him, there's no more excuses for a guy that's above Jeff McNeil right now. Because look, Mendoza's like, listen, you had a really good game. We need you in a 4 spot. There is no reason why Pete Alonso shouldn't be dominating right now. He's putting better swings together, but it's still not ultimately getting him that power he needs. So when it comes to Pete Alonso, I love the protection with Jeff McNeil. Mark Vientos, I don't know why I love Vientos in that 6 spot. He's kind of directly in the middle of everything, which I like, but he's kind of still helping out the bottom of the order a little bit. Tyrone Taylor, listen, we said enough good things about Tyrone Taylor. Unfortunately, right, it's going to be very interesting when Marte comes back, what they're going to do with Tyrone Taylor. But with that said, Tyrone Taylor, listen, he's the first guy off the bench at this point now when it comes to anytime you need an outfield help, Taylor's there. Francisco Alvarez, man, what a difference a year makes. Because if it's the thumb, that's really the issue, and that's why he's not providing the power we really need. I brought this in the group chat today when Hayden was talking about the hitting coaches and everything like that. We were expecting around 65 to 70 home runs from Pete Alonso and Alvarez combined. We'll be lucky if they get to 50. That's a huge drop-off in home runs. Luckily, Nimmo has provided Lindor, Vientos, McNeil has been putting in those home runs along with Taylor and Bader, right? Because we were expecting between 65 to 70, maybe even more home runs from those two guys. And when you get in 20, maybe 25 less home runs from them two guys, it should be a real problem. But right now, it's not. That's why if we talked about 100 times with this lineup, if Pete Alonso and Alvarez gets going, how is this team going to be stopped? That's how good this lineup can be. Because you said it a couple of days ago, Chris, the last time we had a show before our pregame yell night, last night, this offense still has another level. And that's without Alonso doing anything. And Alvarez, if they get going, it's amazing how better this lineup could be.
I talk about cohesiveness. This is what I'm saying with this is cohesiveness, right? And everybody on the same page in this lineup, 100%. And I'll always back that up because it seems like in spurts, this lineup has been great, right? But they haven't been great more or less together. They've been great in spurts, and certain guys, 3 or 4 guys have been carrying the lineup, right? And then the rest follows suit. And then vice versa, where the other 3 or 4 guys carry the lineup and then the rest follows suit. I need to see everybody carrying the lineup top to bottom and then everybody buying in. So, like I said, I just simply believe, right, with the personnel that this Mets roster has from the offensive perspective, that there is a whole different dimension of them that is still yet to be unlocked. And we saw it just a little bit during that little hot streak that they had when they were kind of just surging, the Grimace era, the OMG era, which is still kind of alive more so than the Grimace era. But like that during that stretch, we really saw what I want to see consistently come to fruition. And it just like bugs me that that kind of went away here recently. And so I'm full throttle expecting them to sort of show us that they can get back to that kind of level. But want to get into some of the comments here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. I appreciate Stony, Brad, PAS, Marcus, everybody. I appreciate you all tuning in. This question in particular, I do want to answer, not a question, but more of an interesting topic. Hope you all discuss in the near future, CP, out of the players we acquired this past offseason, who should we bring back and who should we extend? And we don't have to go into it full throttle in this stream because, like I said, this is a post game and we're about 38 minutes away from first pitch. But there are some discussions to be had about extensions, right? Harrison Bader is having a phenomenal season. Severino, who was having a phenomenal season, has taken a step back, and a lot of people are kind of reluctant now to give him a contract, even given the sort of, I guess, holes in this rotation going into this offseason and knowing that who's going to be a free agent versus who's not going to be. And then Sean Manaea, who's obviously going to opt out of his deal. He's got a player option at the end of the season, $13.5 million. He's going to definitely opt out. Do we re-sign him? So I don't know if I'm going to let you speak your piece on it. I'm going to wait most likely for myself to speak on this. I will speak on this on my channel, whether it's on a stream or a pre-recorded podcast. But this is a great comment. And Carlos, if we don't give you the answer tonight, just know that we are still always thinking about this. Like this is in the back of my head, at least, right? I'm not sure about yours, Rob, but this is in the back of my head all the time when I see each of these guys that I just named, all three of them, go out there on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. And it's not just on the back of our minds, it's on the back of Stern's mind as well. So look, we've been on Severino bandwagon for all year. We wanted to extend him a couple of months ago. And look, if you're a fan of baseball, and look, he pitched for the Yankees. We've seen him enough with the Yankees, even when he was injured, right? We knew there's going to be a little bit of a hurdle to jump when it comes to his innings, his innings that he comes up that he hasn't pitched since 2018. You knew that was going to happen. Like he's going to have a road bump, right? You just hope that, you get to that 6-man rotation, or you give him you skip a start just to give him a little bit of a rest. That's what you got to do with Luis Severino. Like if you didn't know this was going to come, then you really weren't paying attention to what Severino has gone through over the last 4 or 5 seasons. Like he has not pitched a lot at all. So since he's been healthy this year, he was going to get to that innings limit where his body, his arm, is probably a little fatigued. It has nothing to do with injury. It's just body fatigue. Like, it's silly to say for a professional athlete, but when your job is to pitch 150 innings plus, and you haven't done that since 2018, your body has to remember all that. Your muscles have to remember all that. Your bones have to remember all that. Everything, your mental aspect has to get over that fatigue hurdle. And so, yeah, when it comes to Severino, I'd extend him. I try everything I can to extend him right now because it makes the most sense. Because the Mets are not signing 3 guys in this rotation. They might sign one big guy, and we can go over the names at a later date. But I'm telling you right now, guys, at least one of Severino and Manaea are going to be a top priority for David Stearns in this offseason. So if you can get one of them, possibly 2, that is one less rotation on you got to spend $200 plus million on, where you can focus more on the offensive side this offseason than trying to spend $400 million on pitching for your rotation when you might not have to. So, yeah, I would love Sean Manaea and Severino back on respectable deals. They deserve more money than what they get in this year because of how well they pitched. But if the Mets can bring them back, and they clearly like it here, which might be a benefit to the Mets, and they pitched well under Hefner. I know that nobody likes to hear that, but it's a fact. And then I think Severino is probably more likely than Minaya, only because of the Mendoza factor. I think Severino really likes Mendoza, and I think he trusts Mendoza. And maybe Sean Minaya does too. But if it's up to me, Sean Minaya and Severino, I bring them back because that's one less big pitcher you got to get in the offseason.
Yeah, and honestly, what it comes down to me is like it depends on what you do with a guy like Christian Scott or David Peterson, right? Like it depends on what you value them at, and also Brandon Sproat. Luis Severino and Sean Manaea are guys that, especially Luis Severino, the way he's been pitching over the past couple of starts, is like we see a little bit of a drop off. He's not as elite as he was in the middle of the season, but if you say he's our starting pitcher 5 come next season, guess what? I'm ecstatic. There's no way around it. Like, if he is a starting pitcher 5, I'm ecstatic. Now, he's been serving as our ace for the majority of the season up until that one Kodai Senga start, and also Sean Manaea catching fire here frequently. But at the end of the day, Luis Severino, with what he's done in his career, right, especially recently in the past 2 years, 3 years, hasn't been as successful as he was in 2017, 2018. This guy is definitely a starting pitcher 4, starting pitcher 5. So if you resign him as such, depending on the money value, which we can't even get into right now because it's way too far away to be able to tell you what the market's like, then yeah, I'd like him back. But that's still a whole lot of months away, So at the end of the day, we got a 9:40 p.m. start time. We're just about an hour and 7 minutes onto the stream. It's 9:08 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Anything else? Because bottom line, if I were to end the stream, if I was here by myself and I were to end the stream, right? Like, we're going to do final thoughts here. I would say better at bats, more aggressive at bats, and I just need to see better offensive production from this team tonight to get the victory. Because, like we both have mentioned over the past couple of streams that we've done, post games, pre games, roundtables, everything else in between, there is no aspect right now of this pitching that I'm concerned about, to be honest with you, on a day-to-day basis. But I'm concerned a little bit about the offensive consistency, and especially as it relates to tonight and going up against a pitcher that you can, I guess, right, boil it down to more talented / less talented than the guy that you see yesterday, regardless of what type of success he has in the stat line tonight. He has been better than Bryce Miller overall, Logan Gilbert, that is, this season. So given that factor and given the way the Mets lineup looked like last night, the lineup is exactly what I'm looking at tonight again, right? What type of at-bats you put together? Are they quality? Are you attacking the fastballs early in the count to not put you in pitchers counts 0-1, 0-2? What types of takes are you having on sliders that are not even close to the strike zone and may break late? Cough, cough, Pete Alonso. So these are the types of things that I am watching out for with this Mets lineup tonight. And honestly, I really don't know if I'm going to go live for the Mets postgame. Rob, I'm pretty sure you're probably out for the Mets postgame because this is going to be another late finish. I might do another solo postgame tonight. Everybody in the chat, by the time right now and the end of the stream happens, let me know if you guys are going to be up and willing for a postgame. If you're going to be up, I will do one. If not, I'll reserve it for tomorrow, maybe a day after recap. But other than that, all eyes for me are on this offense tonight. That's it.
Yeah, you basically said everything, but I'm going to take one of your lines, just win, baby. Like, it's just that simple, right? Look, this is a crucial game, a crucial series come at last series before the road trip ends, before you head for your only homestand of the month. Win today and go into the rubber game tomorrow. That's the most important thing, right? And they got to have better compact swings. Stop swinging for the fences. You got a big ballpark in T-Mobile Park in Seattle. They got big gaps. Work the left center and right center field gaps. That is the key there. Stop they took when I watched the replay, they took way too many home run swings. For what reason, I had no idea. Right? You weren't even hitting Miller, and you were trying to swing for the fences. They were being overly aggressive for no reason. Get a couple of people on, hit those gaps, huge gaps in Seattle, in left center and right center. Shoot for the gaps, swing early and often. Don't let them get ahead of you, especially on first pitch. As I said earlier with Gilbert, the key is going to be the offense tonight. I think Manaea is going to pitch well. The Mariners' offense isn't very good, right? They couldn't hit Quintana yesterday, and I would assume a lot of people believe that Manaea is better than Quintana. I don't think the Mariners' offense is that good. I think if the Mariners are not good when they're chasing a lead, when they're chasing a deficit. That's their biggest problem. Get on the board early. Let their offense press. If you let their offense press, you got a better chance of Manaea having a really good night and the Mets overall having an overall good night and probably put that W on that win column. That's what they got to do tonight, and that's my final words, buddy.
Yeah, 100%. You got to grind out at bats. You got to have good at bats, and hopefully you get to Logan Gilbert earlier and often than not. But like I said, if this is a grinded out game, I was saying it in probably the 4th or 5th inning. Just get Bryce Miller out of the game and hope that you can hit their bullpen. Unfortunately, they didn't get to their bullpen, or they did get to the bullpen in the 7th inning, but they couldn't produce after first and second, nobody out. But 100%. I'm going to be watching this team's at-bats against Logan Gilbert, who is a stud of a pitcher. Guys, during this game, like I said, please, as always, hit the thumbs up on both streams. Like I said, we're about an hour and 12 minutes into a post game. Who is crazy enough to come on stream and talk about this Mets team after a 6-0 loss for an hour and 12 minutes? That's right. It's myself and your guy, Rob. That's who. So make sure you're hitting that thumbs up. Definitely appreciate it. I don't want to commit to the post game right now, but if you see, hit the notifications button on my channel. If you hit the notification button and you see a live stream pop up mid-game, that means you know I'm going live. It's a game time decision.
That twinkle in your eye, I think that twinkle in your eye is telling you you're going to do a post game.
Junior wants one and Brad wants one as well. 100%. I hear you guys. If I can stay up, I will stay up from first inning to 9th inning. If I can stay up and muster 30 to 40 minutes for a post game, I will do it on the channel. But if not, then catch me tomorrow. That's all I got to say. But like I said, the notifications button, as soon as I put up that live stream link, you will get notified. So let's go, Mets. First of all, let's go this offense, second of all and foremost, because this offense needs to get going, right? JD Martinez, right? Mark Vientos, who's been decent, but still has been kind of falling off in the production that he's had at the plate, although he started the Mets off with a nice double down the line last night, which I love to see. But mostly, right, JD Martinez, Brandon Nimmo, and Francisco Alvarez in the struggling category. Those are the 3 guys that I'm watching for to turn this around that have been struggling over the last 10 to 20 games. So let's go, Mets. I definitely appreciate you all. Carlos, yes, 100%. The post game is TBD. I will make a decision about the post game in the 2nd or 3rd inning. But as soon as I put that link up to do the post game, if you don't have the notifications button tapped, you might miss it. But I'm going full throttle after that. I have to make a decision. But please bear with me. Post game TBD might commence tonight. So pay attention to that. But like I said, I appreciate it. Rob, I appreciate you as well. I know you're on travel. I know how hard it is to come on stream, especially for just about an hour and 15 to cover this New York Mets team while you are on travel. So I definitely appreciate you, buddy. The New York Mets are 61-55. The Seattle Mariners improved to 61-56 on the season. This has been the amazing Mets pregame show. Please stay tuned tonight for the postgame show potentially. Subscribe, hit that thumbs up, and like I said, put together better at-bats. And this is the NL wildcard race that we are talking about, guys. There's no excuses anymore that the Mets have. There's no excuses. Win the ball game. And as I say, and now as Rob says, just win, baby. LFGM. Peace.